I've been pondering a little idea while being on my fitness grind. I've been looks maxing. I see that. Trying to get me some neck veins, which I know about that anyway. You know what I'm saying? Running and John. All right, with the art of running, and we about to see, we about to learn, we about to ponder and perceive the ultimate beginner's guide to running. What is there I need to know before I get to running? I already know though. I ain't got not a singular running shoe. I got the flattest shoes in the world. You don't need to be running in. So I know I gotta get me some running shoes. Fella like me, I ain't got none, bro. I'm gonna be rocking around here, blistering feet.
If you've watched my channel before, you know that I've dove deep into running, especially marathon training. I ran London Marathon this year. I'm planning to run the New York City Marathon later this year. This video is sponsored by Pliability. More on them later. And I love testing the best tools and strategies for optimizing whatever I'm chasing after, and this has become running currently. So in this video, I'm gonna cover all the things that I personally wish that I knew when it came to running before I started, because I made so many mistakes. And if I had just learned these things beforehand, I would have been fine. So today, I want you to get a leap ahead in terms of all the knowledge that you need to know. We're gonna cover everything from training plans, the shoes, clothes, nutrition, everything you must know, all in this guide. Come back and watch it again if you didn't absorb all of it. Let's get started.
I gotta pause. My dude ain't got no abs or nothing, no visible abs or nothing. I have come to realize that low key. I came across this one Instagram video. It was like this large guy running. So this is like something that, I guess even bigger people can do. Or I guess, I guess you just don't lose that much weight running. Maybe you can. You're just eating more calories than you're burning still. Well, I ain't got that problem. Not that it's a problem.
I'm kidding. Honestly, the amount of times I hear people say that is pretty absurd. Just know, all in this guide, come back and watch it again if you didn't absorb all of it. Let's get started. So the very first thing that I learned was running is bad for your knees. So in that case, we should all not run anymore. And that's the end of the video. We'll see you next time.
Nah, I heard running is hard on the joints though.
I'm kidding. Honestly, the amount of times I hear people say that is pretty absurd. But I don't think running is bad for your knees if you do these things properly. And the most important thing of all, the highest priority, if you have ever watched me, the 80-20 of it all, which is 20% of your efforts lead to 80% of your results, Pareto's law. So do the least amount of work, get the highest amount of output, is your training plan. Buying compression boots is not going to create an 80% impact. It might optimize you 1%, but your training plan is the most important part. That's the first section. And the first layer of a training plan, if you're untrained runner, you're just getting into it, the first step, couch to 5K, couch to marathon, is showing up. It's consistency, it's habits, it's finding ways to incorporate this new activity, this new regime into your day-to-day lifestyle. Because personally, I love working out. I love running, I love weightlifting, yoga, a whole bunch of other things. I still struggle with consistency and habits. But I have some strategies that I use to make sure I stay consistent and achieve my goals in any of those fields.
I like doing yoga. I be doing yoga right in that bed.
If you've ever read Atomic Habits, he has the 4 principles of habits, and I love to follow these. Principle number 1 is obvious. Environment. It's physical things and people. So family, friends, roommates, relationships, they're on board. They're not going to push you against running. They're going to actually allow you and make it easier for you to run. So maybe it's having a conversation, telling them so that way they support you and they don't try to pull you out to grab drinks. The second step is products. So let's say I decide that my best running time is in the morning before work, whatever that is, where there's going to be the least amount of interference. Then prepping my clothes, so my shorts, pants, whatever, shirts, running shoes, socks, setting that up right by the door, so that way right as soon as I wake up, it's effortless to get into my clothing to start running for the day. Principle number 2, attractive. Now, I'm not talking about myself because I'm clearly not that attractive. Make it fun, motivational. So one thing you can do is if you love nature, maybe you live in New York City, you can go run in Central Park. You're like, hey, I get to go sightseeing. I get to go see new things. I get to be amongst the trees. Maybe it's running with friends. You like to be social. There are so many run clubs now. It's absolutely absurd, but also awesome at the same time. Find a run club that looks fun, enjoyable. People that you might enjoy.
Bro, could run clubs really be fire though? I feel like they might be fire, and I think that's just because It's people, and I kind of like being around people. But shoot, I don't know, nigga. Ain't no run club around here that I want to join. They all probably like MAGA run clubs over around where I'm from, where I'm at.
Becoming friends with, go to that run club. Now it's attractive. The amount of TikToks that I see where run clubs are just about hooking up is embarrassing. Not that kind of attractive. Make it
Fact, bro. Is that a thing too, bro? Y'all be knocking boots in them run clubs, man.
attractive in terms of the experience. Make it fun. Principle number 3, make it easy. Standardize it and make it so you can be consistent. So maybe it's like, hey, every morning at 8 a.m. as soon as I wake up, I go on a 10-minute run, walk, whatever that is. Find a time that's gonna have minimal interference, and maybe it's repeatable. So that way you're just showing up every day. It's not about running fast. It's not about running for a certain heart rate. It's not about a certain distance. It's about showing up, and maybe it's time. Time doesn't change. It's easy to standardize. You can be like, I'm gonna run every other day for 10 to 15 minutes. Building consistency, that is the most important piece. Law number 4, satisfying. So one of the biggest challenges I had with running is I personally have always hated running. I used to swim growing up, and we had 2 track days per week, which was running. Oh, wow. And I am embarrassed.
Are they running, swimming? What? I would be hot too. I signed up to swim while I'm on the track.
Say that I asked my coach if I could not do those days and go to the gym
and
lift weights instead. That's how much I disliked running growing up. And as soon as I got into running, it probably took me 3 months of being forced by external factors like friends and relationships.
Bro, I don't know how people don't like running. That's the thing though. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think I always been like into like athletic activities, bro. I used to be mean at the jump rope. Low-key still am. Low-key still am. You catch on a good day. Running a jump, that jump was fun. I used to like running, bro. I still do like running. I be finding it so crazy that folk would be like, I don't like running. What? That don't feel good? I mean, it sucked like a little bit after, but while you're running, bro, it feels so good. Running feels good while you're doing it. Once you stop and you break that momentum, bro, you be like, at least I do. You know what I'm saying? I've been told I have poor breath control.
I started to fall in love with it. It became satisfying because I got the runner's high, but that took a while. 1, in terms of the duration that I was running, and 2, just doing it consistently enough where I started to feel this like, ooh, I feel really nice after my run that I want to keep doing this. So if you're able to make it obvious, attractive, and easy, over time as you extend the duration that you run, you start to feel that runner's high and make it more satisfying. Until that point, maybe find some other kind of reward where you can satisfy yourself with that might not be detrimental, like getting donuts after every run is probably not the best decision, although I'd love to do that. But maybe it's rewarding yourself with a nice bath, a magnesium bath after every run. Something that you really, really enjoy that can also be healthy for you. Now that you've made it a habit, that's like the first layer of an important training plan is consistency, showing up. When I first started running, I was run walking. I still sometimes do that because it's not about the running itself. It's about the showing up and being consistent, developing a strong habit. And this is how I developed my habit. Right. I made it obvious by having a shoe wall of all my running shoes. So when I wake up, I see my running shoes every day and I know I can grab my shoe. Boom, it's obvious. 2, attractive. I make it fun by going to run clubs because it's a social experience. And for me, that's enjoyable and fun. 3, easy. I add the event for these run clubs to my calendar, so now it's easy. It's consistent. I know that Endorphins has a run every Saturday at 8 a.m. at Washington Square Park, and because it's just repetitive.
7,000 members. Are you running with 7,000 people just on a random Tuesday morning? That is so interesting, bro. I couldn't imagine pulling up to a place 10 in the morning and you got 7,000 people there, and we're all just here.
Endorphins has a run every Saturday at 8 a.m. at Washington Square Park, and because it's just repetitive, boom, it's easy. I just show up, grab the shoes on the wall. Fun because it's a run club. Easy because it's every time at the same location in the same place. And 4, satisfying. Once I finish the Endorphins run, usually we end at a coffee shop, and I feel this runner's high and the enjoyment from it is so satisfying. And because of that, it became a routine. I love going to Saturday runs with Endorphins. Now, the base layer 1 is showing up, developing the habit, being consistent. When I first started, it was run walk. You can find run walk run clubs. Join that. Build your base. Improving your fitness is the next level up on this pyramid. I personally found the best way is you download some of these apps which will give you training programs. I prefer to go with a running coach. I'm using my coach Parker, which I can leave a link for him down in the description below. And I set a goal, a specific goal. So I was like, hey Parker, I want to run the New York City Marathon. I want to do sub 4 hours, sub 3:30, whatever that time goal is. Can you train me in the next 8, 12, 16, 20 weeks to get me to that goal? Then my coach creates that workout. Finding a good coach is hard, so I interviewed like 12 coaches before I selected Parker. And he creates a program based on my current fitness to get me to that level of fitness within reason. I can't be like, hey, Coach Parker, can I run a sub 2 hour marathon? He's gonna be like, that's gonna be a bit challenging in this time frame. So let's have a conversation.
Nah, nothing is too challenging. When you believe in yourself, man, mind over matter, bro. The pain don't exist. Then your shins explode on the track. It'd be unfortunate.
Conversation on a realistic goal. But now that I have a final date, which New York City Marathon, November 3rd, I think it is, I have a start time and then the amount of weeks I need to train. I now have a training plan with days that I need to work out, how long I need to run, what I need to do. When these things start to get defined, I'm much more accountable to show up and make it happen. So I've personally found when you set a date and a specific goal in mind over a year, it's much, much easier to make that journey. It's not going to be perfect, but it's much, much easier to work your way to that end goal. I have videos on Zone 2, VO2 Max, if you want to go watch those. But it's very important when it comes to training plan to have a wide range of types of workouts. You're going to have easy stuff. You're going to have hard stuff. You're going to have middle stuff. All of them are important depending on your specific goal. There's no one way to do things, and every coach is going to have a different philosophy.
Let me check these chapters. Injury prevention, shoes, clothing, nice to have, running form, nutrition and hydration, safety, recovery. Alright. Yeah, I ain't got much to chat about in this little portion right here.
Way of doing stuff, so keep that in mind. But showing up and training is always going to be the most important piece. I like to make it effortless. I pick the coach that automatically integrates with my watch, so that way he writes the workouts. It shows up on my watch that day. I press go, and my watch guides me through the workout. So those are other ways to make the habits even easier, which we'll talk about once we get to the watch section. The importance of a training plan is not only to help you achieve your goals and to have consistency in habits, but to prevent injury as well. If you watched my first Zone 2 video, I think it was, I started to struggle with shin splints. Luckily, I don't think I ever got a stress fracture, but it can be a very common injury. I've heard people get like hip issues, knee issues, all kinds of lower body challenges with running. And the 80-20 of why people get injured usually is because they're adding too many miles too fast. So they're putting on too much too soon. And that's why it's so important to have a good training plan that's easing you into it and guiding you in the right process. I know there's a rule of like, don't add.
That's a fact, man. You get some chin splints because you're ego lifting.
Add 10% more mileage from one week to the next, which is a good way to kind of think about it. But let's say you start at 1 mile, you add 10%, that's 1.1 miles. It's gonna be a while to get to like a 20-mile week. Yes, those are good things to think about, but don't.
Yeah, this man got his whoop on his arm.
Make them forcing functions for how you do things.
I never seen
when it comes to
before.
injury prevention, something I think that is really important for runners is mobility. And I definitely need to focus on it more. I've been struggling to stay consistent, and I've been looking for a tool that makes it seamless and keeps me accountable. So one way that I've actually tried to solve the problem is this new app called Pliability. And that's why for this marathon prep, I'm using Pliability because I want to stay mobile and healthy, and I need something that's effortless to use because if I don't do it, I'm going to be more prone to injury. And since I already have a running coach, it's super easy to integrate Pliability into my training routine. And Pliability works for all levels, especially if you're a beginner runner. It's kind of like insurance. As someone who just ran the New York City Marathon this year, injury-free, who did not run it last year, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that doesn't happen again. And since I focus more on Pliability, I have less pain in my shins, my feet and my quads and my glutes don't feel as tight. And if you watch my channel, you know I love all the gadgets, and Pliability has actually partnered up with Whoop, where I can get guided exercises based on my Whoop activity, like recovery and strain. So to learn more about Pliability and get your mobility game on, click the link in my description. It helps support the channel, and I want to thank Pliability for sponsoring this.
It was an ad. I done sat through an ad, yo. That was well integrated ad. I don't even know if you can skip that for real. That's insane.
Video. And speaking of nice to have, let's talk about shoes.
That fashion, bro. You run a quarter mile in some foam posits, bro.
Might be one of the most
and some Jordans and some Vans.
most important nice to have, because if you don't have good shoes,
It's some Timberlands, bro. I'm telling you, bro. You win yourself a New York Marathon in some Timbs.
there's a higher probability that you could get injured. Now, I did make a video where I went to all the different shoe stores to kind of see what their recommendations were. And the biggest thing that I've learned is shoe store employees might give you different responses based on kind of what their motivation factors are. But I do recommend getting yourself fitted for what might be the best shoe for your personal running style, because at different paces, your running form, how your body is shaped, the way that you run, even the way that your feet are shaped, are going to define the different types of shoes that you might need, right? There's factors like heel drop, which is like how high is the heel from the toes. I was always in the field of
yeah, man. I'm gonna just pick up the nicest, coolest looking pair of Pumas, dude. Not doing all this work, cousin.
want zero drop shoes with cushion because I run on concrete, which we can talk about running surfaces. Having wide toe box because I come from like a barefoot shoes background for walking, and I wanted something as close as possible for running. But I quickly learned from my friend John Rosner, you should follow his Instagram, where if you have a higher heel drop, so the heels are higher than the toes, it's more likely that the shoe will cause you to take the stress off from your calves and put it on your quads, and thus you might have less probability for shin splints based on like how strong you already are. So because of that, I no longer worry about what's the heel drop on my shoe. But the things that I think are important is make sure the shoe fits. Don't get shoes that are way too loose. I have wide feet, so I'm a big proponent on wide toe boxes, or I'll get a shoe size bigger if they don't provide wide. And then I don't wear the same shoes back to back because I like to let the foam kind of come back. And I also track the mileage of my shoes on
So you need multiple pair? Or at least that sounds like it's ideal to have multiple pair. Because your foam in your shoes, they get like disformed. Yeah, bro. I'm gonna just pull up to the store. I'm buying the coolest looking, cheapest pair. Both pair. $20, bro. That's all I got. $20 in this little handshake, bro, for both pair.
Strava, or you could use your watch, whatever it is. We'll talk about tracking runs. So that way when I hit the 250 to 400 mile, whatever that specific like recommended limit is, I usually take it down a notch because of my personal body weight. I will replace those shoes because as you wear down the shoes over time, based on your body weight, how you run, and how long you've had them, the foam is going to deteriorate slowly, and it's going to provide less support and cushion than it might. So replacing shoes is important. Finding the right shoes for you is really important, and the best way to do that is to go to in-person stores. Now, shoes aren't the only thing you want to wear. It is important to also wear clothing because at least in most parts of the US, if you do run without clothing, that's not really recommended. The most important
I run naked.
part of the outfit to me is your shorts, pants, leggings, whatever's on the bottom, because you're most likely going to take your shirt off, at least I do when it's really hot outside, or if you're just going to wear a sports bra, you might take the upper layer shirt off as well, especially as a man. I get nipple chafing, so running with a shirt is not ideal. And it could be less laundry too if I don't have to carry a shirt. But I do need to carry stuff with me like my house keys, car keys, phone, camera, whatever it is, gels, other nutrition. And I need shorts or leggings that can do that without it wobbling everywhere. So if I wear basketball shorts with pockets, not good, no bueno. When it comes to a vest, that's another option. I prefer not to have too many things on my chest. If I'm not doing anything over 90 minutes, I will not carry nutrition or hydration with me. But there are also those naked bands. I've actually worn those. I prefer that over the vest. So it's really a preference thing. So it's maybe trying the vest, trying those naked bands that go around your waist where you can store as much nutrition and water as you need.
But I just a fanny pack, bro. It's just a fanny pack light.
And then lastly is light. When you're running outside in the sun, please wear sunglasses. I know Huberman says get your sunlight, and that is correct. Get your 10 to 15 minutes. But if it's very bright in the middle of the day, wear sunglasses. It's going to protect your eyes. And then sunscreen. I always like to wear a hat, and I always wear it forwards because I don't want to get too many wrinkles on my face. You can also wear sunscreen. The one thing I notice if I wear sunscreen like on my forehead and I sweat, it drips into my eyes. So one thing to be careful about, I can only wear sunscreen down here. And then 2 is the wind. When it does get windy, the sunglasses can also protect your eyes from the wind because I can get dust and particles in it. Sometimes I'll wear like a windbreaker jacket. Snow, I don't really run in snow, but you can. Just make sure you have the right grips.
It's the perfect texture for running. Very low impact on its dry snow so your feet don't get wet.
We've seen a lot of people out here, like you said, running, sledding, just enjoying it. One thing, oops.
So now we have our training plan. We have our injury prevention plan. We have our shoes, and we have clothes. Do you need anything else to run? No. But it's nice to have, kind of nice to track your run. So I wear 2 watches. Yes, naughty boy. You don't need watches. Your phone, I'll let no luck.
2 watches, egregious work. Why are you
A
wearing
lot of people
two
love
watches?
to publish to Strava. You can follow me there at Shervin Shares and Instagram and X and TikTok. And I think it's just joyful, I guess. I think we love posting our runs, liking, posting photos, giving kudos, whatever that is. So you don't need a watch to track it. The newest iPhones, I want to say 14 and up, have multi-band GPS. So they're going to have the highest accuracy GPS when there's tall buildings. You can use your phone to run. You know, if you bought those shorts, leggings, whatever it is with tight pockets on the sides, you slide your phone in and track it with Strava. The only challenge is you got to start the workout on Strava, slide it in your pocket, and then when you're done, pull the phone out and then press pause again, which is just a few seconds extra that's going to be added on the beginning and the end of your run. Not the most ideal process, but it gets the job done. Build the habit, get those things first. If you feel like you're running enough, you've checked all the other boxes, then we can upgrade to a watch. Or you already have some kind of watch, maybe an Apple Watch or some kind of smartwatch that potentially tracks runs. That's your next option. I'm a big Apple Watch fan, so if you're just getting into running, most of the Apple Watches are good enough. I've learned that most people that have Apple Watches, they can be old. So if you're going to start marathon training and doing bigger events, your old Apple Watch might not work. The new Series 10 Apple Watch, the Apple Watch Ultra 2 do have a strong enough battery, which I have videos on that, to get you through marathon training and doing the actual marathon. I think I did a 20-mile run with the Series 10 and it burned through half the battery. So I could probably run 40 miles with my Series 10 and I would be fine. But then there are also cheap watch options that you can buy, like the Coros.
My dude is like, what's that?
I think I did a 20-mile run with the Series 10 and it burned.
This man got like a, I don't know, a freaking battery pack. He got the microphone, the earbuds, the glasses, the hat, the battery pack.
Through half the battery. So I could probably
the Whoop, the watch, another watch, and this thing around his torso.
run 40 miles with my Series 10.
That dude is going insane.
And I would be fine. But then there are also cheap watch options that you can buy, like the Coros Pace Pro, the Coros Pace 3, the Garmin 165. If you're trying to get a beginner watch, that's a good way to start. If you're willing to spend more money and you live in a big city, I do recommend getting like the Garmin 265 or the 965. I would say that's more mid-tier. If you're willing to spend more money, that's where the Apple Watch Ultra 2, the Garmin Fenix 8, the Coros Apex 2 Pro, those are like $800 to $1,200 watches.
Yeah.
They're going to be the best in terms of battery life, feature sets. But if you're looking at those watches, you either have the money to spend and you're like, whatever, I'll spend the money. Or there's very specific use cases that you need those watches for. Like for the Garmin, I'm using a sweat tracker or these other kind of tertiary tools. They're not necessary when you're first getting into running and trying to develop the habit. And one thing that Apple Watches and almost all modern watches do now is give you advanced running metrics. So things like cadence, stride, which comes into running form, our next category. I did an interview with Dr. Andy Galpin and I asked him, what are your recommendations when it comes to someone just getting into running?
Hire a coach, hire a service at some point that can just watch you run, even if it's one time, right? You want to avoid catastrophe.
Now, I believe that it's more important to just start running, like get out there, build the habit. That's step one. And then maybe get your running form analyzed once you're consistent, because most people can't even be consistent. Like, let's be honest, I'm one of them. But I did go to a running lab where I got my running analyzed. And the most common thing I hear is, oh, you're a heel striker, you're a toe striker. Which one's better? Which one's worse? From talking to experts, that does not matter. It's about running properly for your body. And everybody is drastically different. So one of the things that this running lab told me is, how does your leg land in proportion to your body? Which muscles are you activating or not activating when you're running? And I learned that, hey, I need to activate my glutes a little bit more. I might want to try doing exercises that help shift the way that my body leans, so that way I land on my leg in a different form. I have a whole video on that, so that I can minimize the impact on my
I have to know, what is this thing on his chest for?
legs and feet.
looks so
Because I'm a
interesting.
heavier guy, I'm about 210 pounds, and the heavier you are, the more impact each landing of your leg is going to have on your body, and the more likely you are to get injured. So heavier people, be careful. So when it comes to running form, going to a gait analysis location near you is
Well, I feel like he got on like a fitness ring
what I
too.
kind of recommend. It's not going to be a thing that changes overnight, but it's something that you work on and to slightly change your running form to optimize it for better running as well as like less injuries. And the reason that is important is because running is like left foot, right foot. You're just doing the same motion over and over again. And if you're doing like 1 mile, 3 miles, 4 or 5 miles, that's probably okay. But then when you start to do long runs, like 15 miles, 20 miles, ultra marathons, super ultra, I don't know what they are, but like when it gets into that high range, 100 milers, Leadville 100, bro, things start to change at that level.
100 miles? You running around the planet, ain't you? 100 miles. Nah, but that's crazy. That's like the length of a state, ain't it?
Where these small things start to matter more because it's like boom, 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 boom. Like it goes from like 1,000, 5,000 steps to like 20,000, 30,000 steps. And when you multiply X by 30,000, it's drastically worse or drastically better. And one of those things for me is chafing. When you're running, I'm moving my arms. Chafe, rub, rub, rub. I don't have a thigh gap. My legs rub against each other when I'm running. So one thing I have to do is put on Vaseline. I put Vaseline between my legs, around that area. I also put it underneath my armpits and my lats, so that way they don't rub as much. When it comes to feet, you know, they're in your shoes. If it's the wrong size, like too tight.
Does that happen to me? I don't think so.
They could be rubbing up against each other, especially your toes, and then up against the edge of your shoe, especially when you get new shoes too, that you'll develop blisters. So one thing I've noticed, if I wear toe socks, they're all gonna be separated. It helps stretch out the shoe a little bit more, minimizes blisters. Sometimes I'll wear compression socks because that just potentially helps the blood flow back up because I'm just...
They got toe socks? Oh, I feel like I knew these existed. I'm gonna give me a toe sock or two. I might give me a little toe sock. Yeah, give me. Hey man, look. What a interesting vid. It's mostly informational. Didn't have much to say here, but I think that's all I feel like covering today in this little video. So I'm gonna catch y'all in the next one.